Hello, welcome to a new episode of the European Vegan Summit Talks. My name is Lena Kuklińska and I'm part of Green REV Institute, the very first and only vegan think tank in Poland, the organizer of the European Vegan Summit, and the operator of the Future Food for Climate Coalition, which currently unites 90 civil society organizations. The European Vegan Summit is the very first event of this kind in Europe and possibly in the world. It is organized because it is impossible to create a modern nation and develop competitive economies without changing the current food system. We need and deserve a system that is good for the planet, for our health, and one that does not abuse and kill innocent beings. At the European Vegan Summit, we bring experts, academics, people of business, politicians, activists to one stage to discuss what we can do to fasten the transformation to a just, plant-based food system. The first edition of the European Vegan Summit took place in September 2022, and we could enjoy the second edition last month in September 2023. Make sure to watch the recordings from the second edition on our website and on our YouTube channel. And today I will have a pleasure of interviewing one of the guests of the second edition of the European Vegan Summit. Joana Oliveira is a project manager and board member of, and here I apologize for my pronunciation possibly, Associação Vegetariana Portuguesa, the Portuguese Vegetarian Association. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation, for dedicating your time, and please tell me if I pronounced the name correctly or not.
You did wonderful. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's actually Associação Vegetariana Portuguesa, but you did just wonderful, and that you can just say Portuguese Vegetarian Association. It's fine. So thank you for the invitation.
Yes, so I will just jump into our discussion right away. During the summit, you presented the Green Protein Project. I will let our audience watch the recording of the panel, New Green Activism, Leadership, Feminism, Networking and Synergy, to find out what it is about and why they should be on the lookout for what comes next out of this initiative. But you mentioned a very important thing, that projects that are an effect of collaboration of different organizations usually receive more clout and attention from policymakers than the activities of a singularly acting organization. So there's a power in numbers. So I was wondering, what are the challenges when it comes to collaborating with different organizations? And what are the tips for successful work, especially among the green and vegan organizations? How do you go about forming these long-lasting collaborations?
So in our experience with the Green Protein Project, one of the critical success factors has been ensuring that all collaborating organizations are deeply aligned with the mission to promote plant-based food production and consumption. And this shared commitment to a plant-based shift has been the foundation of our partnership, of course. So clear and effective communication has been vital in our collaborations. In detail, we send regularly email updates, and if we're working together on something, we share the proper documents to keep all partners informed and engaged, while constantly encouraging edits and suggestions to a certain file. And this applies both to partnerships in Portugal and at European level. So comments from partners are always integrated in the project outputs. That's mandatory. And everyone collaborating will receive a detailed answer about the input that was provided. We need to know that the partner is helping and working for a cause, so this must be recognized. We found that partnerships are most successful when each organization can clearly see the benefits of collaboration. For example, when collaborating with environmental-only organizations, as we are doing in Portugal, we highlight how promoting plant-based diets aligns with their goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and protecting ecosystems. Animal-based food production is linked to nearly double the amount of greenhouse gas emissions compared to plant-based foods. So we need to communicate this wisely with some organizations in Portugal that are not so much focused on plant-based shifts and more focused, let's say, on energetic transformation, for instance. So, but still we need to understand, despite these differences, that partners bring unique strengths to the table, especially regarding political lobby. And for instance, in our partnership with the university, we leverage their research capabilities to support evidence-based advocacy. And so this expertise will reinforce the overall impact of the collaboration. And also at the Portuguese Vegetarian Association, we value long-term commitment, which has been essential for building strong partnership. And I guess our organizations appreciate our dedication in knowing that we're not just interested in short-term gains, but in a sustained change instead. And we've been transparent about our goals, action, and resources we use. So regarding the biggest challenge in collaborations, well, our partners generally share a mission. They can disagree on specific objects, just like I said. Not so much when it comes to the European organizations, with which we cooperate in the plant-powered politics report, but more when it comes to partnerships in Portugal, like I just said, where organizations that lobby for the food transition are quite few. Like I said, we felt we had to convey a message that was aligned with everyone. And for some situations, we may need to focus on positive messages, promoting greater consumption of plant-based protein instead of focusing only on stopping meat consumption, like the alternative. It's easier to go from here and state that even the Food and Agriculture Organization has promoted legumes as a protein source to improve food security, for example. Well, legumes do require much less water and fertilizer input and produce fewer greenhouse gas when compared to animal protein sources. A resource allocation can also be a challenge, especially when collaborating with organizations of different sizes and capacities. Also, decisions in the collaborative setting can take time due to the need for consensus, and these may delay some milestones. But our approach has been to create clear decision-making processes and ensure that all voices are heard, even if some milestones needs to be delayed. So sustaining enthusiasm can be challenging, but it's quite essential. And we need to acknowledge contributions. It's very, very important. And reminding partners of the positive impact we are collectively making. And of course, external factors such as political changes or shifts in the public opinion can affect our advocacy efforts, and we actually seeing that happening right now. But we've learned to be adaptable and responsive to these external influences while staying true to our mission. So, yeah, in summary, our experience with the Green Protein project underscored the importance of aligning values and maintaining open communication. And collaborations in the green and vegan space do require a strong commitment to the mission, the focus on the greater good, but are quite essential.
All right. Thank you very much also for summarizing, because you mentioned so much information. I was like trying to just summarize in 2 words, but you did it very well. But yes, I think openness and just flexibility, these are the key factors for any success, to be honest. But now I wanted to ask you also, moving a bit away from the Green Protein project, what are the other things you do to veganize society as an association? What other projects do you have you established, and what do you focus on? And also, is Portugal a vegan-friendly country?
Well, since I joined the Portuguese Vegetarian Association, it has been a pleasant adventure of activities that report reports and projects and so on. So answer the first part of the question. In addition to being part of the board of directors and coordinating operations that are vital to the organization, such as member and partnership management, I've been involved with so many rewarding projects. So very, very briefly, I participated in the development of an orientation guide for creating a vegan and sustainable business, in the preparation of a ranking report that evaluated supermarkets in Portugal according to their vegan offer. Second edition is here actually. I actively participated and analyzed the offer of plant-based meals in public canteens after the implementation of the law that mandates that at least one vegan option in Portuguese public canteens. I've been part of the coordination of important events such as our vegan festival in the south of the country with more than 60 exhibitors, and our plant-based food congress lasting 2 days and with more than 30 national and international speakers. We'll have its second edition next month in November. Yeah. So our team knows they can count on me for whatever they need, from supporting social media, website updates, articles publication, the online store, anything related to the vegan offering at public canteens, and other political lobbying projects that aim at the transition of the food system. For instance, I spoke on behalf of Organization for a More Sustainable Fiscal Policy applied to plant-based food in Portugal, and for a change on the school milk scene, among others. So now going for the second part of the question. So regarding Portugal being vegan friendly, recently I found a study reporting that Lisbon has more than 9 vegan restaurants per 100,000 residents. And according to this study, Portugal is in fact the 4th worldwide city with the most restaurants per 100,000 inhabitants. And I believe the reason behind this is tourism and not exactly the Portuguese population, who is still very linked to traditional gastronomy and meat consumption. And actually, according to a Portuguese food balance study, the diet of people in Portugal shows deviations from what is recommended by the World Health Organization and the National Food Bill. Like, let's say, more than half of the Portuguese people do not eat enough legumes, fruits, and vegetables. On the other hand, meat and dairy products are consumed in a higher amount than recommended. And Portugal is actually the 9th country that eats most meat worldwide. So we have a serious problem here, actually. So, nevertheless, according to a recent report by the Good Food Institute, the sales of plant-based foods in Portugal have increased by 20% in 2 years, between 2020 and 2022. And it is the fact that there's a rising interest for plant-based diets in Portugal. In 2021, the flexitarian, vegetarian, vegan population reached almost 12% of the adult population in Portugal, which means this is a 33% increase compared to 2019. So we have the two sides here, like high meat consumption and an increase of plant-based food consumption. So that's it.
Okay, so this is, I mean, first of all, 9th country when it comes to meat consumption, and Portugal is a small country overall compared to others. That's it's something I need to digest for a little bit, but I didn't expect this answer at all. But I'm also very happy to hear that this is changing, meaning there is a bad habit of the diet is not what it should be, but things are changing. But do you think this interest in the any sort of flexitarian, vegetarian, vegan diets come from the health concern, or is it more the environmental concern? Or you don't know, it's hard to say because sometimes it's just impossible to know why people do certain things. Usually it's a mix of everything.
Yeah, I believe it's a mix of everything, especially because we have this concern about red meat and processed meat, and it's here in Portugal recognized that even the doctors recommend people to stay away from red meat, but still we have the chicken consumption problem rising and rising. So I guess we have some health concerns regarding meat consumption, but we cannot say that's the main reason. To be honest, I guess people are more aware of ethical issues. That's something that I think is increasing as well, thanks to internet and social media, and of course environmental issues are part of the reasons why some people choose to stop consuming meat. But it's a mix, and it's difficult to say what really is behind this rising plant-based food.
Well, luckily, veganism answers all the three possible concerns, and I think the mix is always more sustainable, because if people focus on one aspect, they might lose that motivation in case they see that, for instance, climate change is not stopping, then they just, oh, well, my actions don't matter, or, oh, animals are dying anyways, things like this. But if it's a mix, I feel at least it's a bit more sustainable long term for people. But that also brings me to my next question, because I'm wondering, you mentioned your activities, which are very impressive. I am very happy anytime I interview somebody from an organization that does so much of activism in their country. But I'm wondering about the strategies you are utilizing to harness the interest of people who are interested, but maybe they don't know how to do about it. Because at the European Vegan Summit, I remember you mentioned that you have a background in economics, which is not a background I have. So I was wondering, do you think that utilizing numbers in your activities, your campaigns, is it effective? Because I wonder whether there is a difference in response between the policymakers when they see a report with numbers, or whether a regular person can even picture what does that mean that 30% of anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission comes from the food sector. So are numbers convincing to people in general, or should they just be as like the academic background in case you're interested, but maybe visuals or testimonies of people are a bit more convincing? How is it in your experience?
So answer the first part of the question regarding economics argument. So food production and consumption are extremely inefficient economic issues with overused natural resources, and that's it's definitely related to economy. So only 37% of global human protein intake comes from animal products, but this occupies 77% of the world's land area. In contrast, 63% of protein comes from the direct consumption plant-based foods, which require only 23% of the global land area to be cultivated. At the same time, we know that one contributing factor to world hunger is food distribution. Instead of feeding people, much of the food grown today is fed to farm animals. For instance, beef contains only 1.9% of the calories that went into its production in the form of animal feed. Even whole milk, which is the most efficient animal product, contains only 24% of the calories consumed by the cow producing the milk. So there's a case of food loss here, and this is economic. In fact, 90% of the soy Europeans eat is not listed as an ingredient. Instead, it is consumed indirectly, as soy is the main animal feed feed used to produce meats, eggs, fish, and dairy. Plus, 30% of the overall water footprint associated with the global agriculture is attributed to the production of animal-based products. And regarding other statistics, nearly 70% of all greenhouse gas emissions in Europe coming from agriculture come actually from animal farming. And according to the European Central Bank, climate change will generate more income differences across individual sectors, regions, inflation scenarios, financial market stress, increased migration, the rising of public debt, among others. So this is clearly economics, and by highlighting this and other statistics, we can emphasize the inefficiency of using a significant portion of land and natural resources for animal agriculture when a more efficient protein source can be obtained from a plant-based food. And there's an economic opportunity arising from alternative protein market itself. Sales of plant-based foods according again to the Green REV Institute, sales of plant-based foods in 13 European countries increased by 21% in 2 years between 2020 and 2022, while unit sales of conventional meat fell by 8%. It's not only about Portugal, but also it's happening at European level. And these figures can demonstrate the economic potential of the plant-based food industry. So it is important to increase investment in alternative proteins to ensure Europe remains competitive in global industry. So failure to do so may result in business reallocating abroad to uncertainties. And more importantly, we need to redirect financial incentives towards sustainable farms and alternative proteins using smart farming technologies. So yeah, when it comes to health costs, consuming meat, especially red and processed meat, has been, like I said previously, has been tied to several health issues, including diabetes, sometimes types of cancer, health conditions, resulting in millions of deaths and billions in costs related to healthcare. So this health issue can impact a nation's overall economic performance and workforce productivity. And such facts can be used to advocate for policies that promote healthier plant-based dietary choices. So all these numbers and figures can be used to support economic arguments in favor of transitioning to a more sustainable and plant-based food system. They highlight the inefficiencies and economic opportunities associated with the current food production and consumption practices. So we need to make the case for change more compelling to both policymakers and the general public. So that's the way. And in campaigns, now going to the second part, in campaigns, it is also important to address this, but also people's daily lives, what affects them immediately, demonstrating that plant-based diets can be cost-effective and budget-friendly can appeal to a broader audience, for instance. So when advocating for sustainable food systems, it is often effective to the combination of these strategies. Numerical data provides credibility and evidence, visual simplified complex information, and personal stories make the message relatable. Even when it comes to ethics, it's good to show some story of an animal, how it has feelings and cognitive capacities. And yes, of course, the use of economic arguments when backed by solid data and presented in an understandable manner, that's very important, can be a compelling way to engage both policymakers, general audience, businesses, and get people more into movement toward a more sustainable and plant-based food system.
Thank you very much. I mean, well, you answered my question so comprehensively. I don't have any follow-up. So thank you very much. So having these strategies, this information in mind, what are the plans of Portuguese Vegetarian Association for the next 5 years?
So, among others, we want to be focused on information and awareness campaigns about birds and fish in particular. All animals, but birds and fish in particular, to provide a more efficient response to both the ethical and environmental issues that their consumption entails, which are often not taken into account. You know, you have the red meat thing going on, but birds and fish are sometimes left behind, especially here in Portugal. And birds, particularly chickens, which include meat chickens and laying eggs, are the most exploited land animals and are slaughtered in greater numbers for human consumption. Chickens represent almost 19% of all birds and mammals slaughtered in Portugal, meaning they are the most consumed among these. Also, Portugal is the country that per capita consumes the most fish in the European Union and the third one worldwide. We also want to improve our communication with the non-vegetarian and vegan public to encourage the general reduction of animal-based consumption. And we intend to continue to intervene at the institutional, corporate, and political levels to empower, influence, and encourage a food model that does not rely on animal suffering. And we want to increase our partnerships with organizations, universities, politicians, and companies, namely big retailers, advising them to increase their vegan offer. That's very important for us. And that's basically, summing up, that's basically our plan for the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, good luck with everything, as Green REV Institute will definitely be following and entering you up, because what happens in any European country, I think, can affect the other one greatly, and we can spread the vegan revolution more and more, which is that's the ultimate goal. But I'm also wondering, because next year we'll hold the European elections, and that will greatly also affect the work of every single NGO in Europe for the next 5 years. So I'm wondering, because we already know, or we predict, I try to stay hopeful, but I think it's very clear that the new EP term will be more conservative. What it means is that there will be more right-wing and centrist MEPs, members of the European Parliament, in office. So I'm just wondering, what does that may mean for the civil society organizations working to transform the food system? Have you made any predictions how it could affect your work in Portugal? Because as we know, European politics always affects every single member state.
It is true that the European conservatives and reformists, ECR, are expected to become the third largest group in the European Parliament. That's a prediction. At the same time, the ID group is making sizable gains, reflecting the rise of far-right parties. The Greens will probably lose seats. So that's bad news, let's be honest. In fact, far-right parties have been on the rise in several European countries, including Italy and Finland. So civil society plays a crucial role here in advocating for change in European politics. With a more conservative political landscape, civil society organizations may face greater challenges in changing policies related to the food system. We may need to engage in more extensive advocacy efforts to counteract conservative policies, and we may need to collaborate more closely with others to build coalitions and to get support in order to amplify our voices. This is very important, especially for vegan organizations, vegetarian organizations. And organizations will need to place an even stronger emphasis on evidence-based advocacy and data. And we'll need to adapt the way we communicate depending if we are dealing with a conservative policymaker. And we need to be very, very aware of the policy context that is in place for that policymaker. So robust research and data will be crucial for demonstrating the urgency and benefit of transforming the food system. And a key factor here is the way this evidence is communicated. So we need to invest more in public engagement and education campaigns to raise awareness and build public support. And again, we need to communicate messages widely to raise awareness to all citizens, including those, and especially this, including those who agree with the conservative groups. If a conservative group begins to fear losing votes, they may change some policies. So putting pressure on questioning joint leaders, so putting pressure on strategic citizens is a powerful tool. So that's something we want to do. And the end cage age, which is the end of the end use of cage farming of animals in Europe, is a notable success story of civil society organizations advocacy. That's an example. Also, in advocating for food system transformation, organizations must also recognize the economic arguments play a role, like we talked just a few seconds ago. They may want to resort to economic impact analysis to demonstrate the potential of the alternative protein market and the financial benefits of sustainable and ethical food production practices. This is very important when dealing with conservative parties and groups. It's very important. And summing up, a conservative European Parliament may present challenges for civil society organizations and for ourselves and for activists in general, which are working to transform the food system. So we need a strategic adaptation, increased collaborations, more advocacy efforts. We need to resort to economic arguments. Civil society will continue to play a critical role in driving change by mobilizing public support, getting experts and corporate support, very important corporate support, conducting research, and communicating wisely with policymakers. We believe that that's the trick.
Thank you very much. I think this is a perfect message to leave our viewers with. Thank you, Joana. It was very uplifting and very, very informative as well. So thank you very much for your time. Yeah, and I hope to see you soon again, maybe at the next edition of the European Vegan Summit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
So to close off this episode, I warmly encourage our audience, as always, to follow European Vegan Summit, Green REV Institute, but also the Portuguese Vegetarian Association, all social media platforms, to be able to follow our activities and to learn more about the upcoming possibilities for engagement, because as we know, now more than ever, we'll need everybody's support and everybody's power and experience to just fight the wave of something that's preventing the transformation to a food system we all deserve. So thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you.